In March 2026, the FBI issued a warning about certain apps on your phone, not a vague advisory buried in a government document that nobody reads. A direct, specific warning that certain categories of foreign developed applications present national security risks that ordinary users are not adequately informed about. Most people missed it. It appeared briefly in tech news, generated a day or two of social media discussion, and then disappeared beneath the next news cycle. The apps it was warning about are still on hundreds of millions of phones. The permissions those apps have are still active. The data collection is still happening. This video exists because the warning matters and because understanding why it matters requires explaining something that most coverage of this issue gets wrong. This is not about paranoia. It is not about geopolitical tension producing an abundance of caution that does not reflect real risk. It is about documented legal architecture that creates a specific, verifiable mechanism by which data collected by certain apps can be accessed by a foreign government regardless of what any privacy policy says. Let us go through exactly what that legal architecture is, exactly which apps are in this category, exactly what data they are collecting, and exactly what you can do about it tonight. The law that changes everything. Every conversation about Chinese developed apps and national security eventually arrives at the same document. China's National Intelligence Law, enacted in 2017. This law requires organizations and the citizens under Chinese jurisdiction to support, assist, and cooperate with national intelligence work. The requirement has no meaningful opt-out clause. There is no independent court to which a company can appeal if it believes a data request is improper or disproportionate. Cooperation is mandatory. This is not speculation about what the Chinese government might theoretically want to do. This is the text of the law. The practical implication for any company incorporated in China or controlled by Chinese entities is that if the Chinese government requests access to data that the company holds, the company has no legal mechanism to refuse. Privacy policies that promise user protection, marketing materials that emphasize data security, corporate statements about user privacy, all of these are subordinate to the national intelligence law requirement. A company incorporated in China can write the most robust privacy policy imaginable. It can hire the most reputable Western privacy firms to audit its practices. It can make public commitments to user data protection at every level, and none of this changes the fundamental legal reality that the government of China can compel access to any data that company holds. This is what makes the FBI warning different from a general caution about data collection practices. Data collection is widespread. Virtually every major app collects more data than most users realize. The specific concern with Chinese developed apps is not just that they collect data. It is that the legal framework under which their developers operate creates a documented pathway from that collected data to a foreign government's intelligence apparatus. This is documented. This is verifiable. This is not paranoia. The apps in question, TikTok, is the most recognizable name in this category and has been the subject of the most public debate about exactly these concerns. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is a Chinese corporation subject to the national intelligence law. But the FBI's warning and the broader national security concern extends beyond TikTok to a category of apps that has received less public attention. CapCut is a video editing application made by ByteDance, the same parent company as TikTok. It is one of the most downloaded video editing apps in the world, used by content creators across every platform. The connection to ByteDance is not always obvious to users who downloaded CapCut independently without thinking about which company made it. Lemon8 is a photo and lifestyle sharing app, also made by ByteDance. It has been positioned as an alternative to Instagram and Pinterest, and ByteDance has reportedly promoted it to TikTok users as an alternative platform. The ByteDance connection is again not prominently featured in the app's marketing. Shein and Temu are shopping applications that have attracted scrutiny for data. Collection practices that appear to exceed what their retail function requires. Both have access to significant amounts of user device data through the permissions they request, and both have faced investigations and scrutiny in multiple countries over their data practices. Congressional reports in the United States have raised specific concerns about the extent of data collection by these applications. DeepSeek is an AI application developed by a Chinese company that attracted significant international attention in early 2025 when it demonstrated impressive language model capabilities. It was removed from Apple's App Store in some countries and has been prohibited from devices in several government contexts due to security concerns. DeepSeek collects the content of user conversations, which for an AI assistant application means potentially sensitive personal, professional, and even confidential information. What is actually being collected? The word data has become so abstract that it no longer communicates the reality of what is happening. Let us be specific. Location data collected by these applications is not the general sense of which city you are in. GPS-enabled location tracking is minute by minute, accurate to within meters. An app with location permission running in the background knows where you slept last night, where you went this morning, which building you entered, how long you stayed, and where you went after. Over weeks and months, this produces a detailed map of your life's geography that reveals your home, your workplace, your medical appointments, your relationships, your religious practices, and your daily routine. Contact data means the actual names, phone numbers, and email addresses of everyone in your address book, not just your contacts. The contacts of your contacts gathered through social graph analysis. When one person's contact list is harvested, it captures identifying information about people who never installed the application and never agreed to any terms of service. Microphone and camera permissions granted to applications that do not obviously require them are a specific concern that security researchers have documented repeatedly. Applications have been found to activate device microphones at times, when no legitimate app function would explain the activation. The technical capability exists and has been observed. The business justification for a shopping app requiring microphone access is not clear. Behavioral profiling through engagement metrics is perhaps the most sophisticated data collection happening. The algorithm driving TikTok's content recommendation is extraordinarily effective at predicting which content will hold a specific user's attention. This effectiveness is not magical. It is the product of detailed, continuous measurement of exactly how each user responds to each piece of content, how long they watched before scrolling, whether they rewatched, whether they shared, how their engagement pattern changes based on time of day, recent history, and combinations of content type. This behavioral fingerprint is, in some ways, more revealing than location data or contact data. It is a psychological profile, a picture of what captures your attention, what generates an emotional response, what you find persuasive. In the hands of an intelligence agency, behavioral profiles of this granularity are tools for influence as much as for surveillance. The data sovereignty problem. Government responses to this situation move slowly. Legislation requires deliberation, lobbying battles, judicial challenges, and years of implementation. The TikTok situation in the United States involved years of executive orders, congressional hearings, federal court challenges, and legislative action before producing an outcome that remains contested. During all of that time, the app continued operating and collecting data. This gap between the speed of data collection and the speed of government protection is what makes individual action necessary rather than optional. Data sovereignty is the principle that data generated by a country's citizens should be protected under that country's laws. When a Chinese application collects location data from an American user, that data exists in a legal environment defined primarily by Chinese law, not American law. The American user's expectations of privacy, shaped by American legal norms, do not apply to data that is under Chinese legal jurisdiction. Individual users cannot resolve this structural problem, but they can meaningfully reduce their exposure to it. The law will eventually catch up, or it will not. Either way, the protection available to you today is the protection you build yourself. One setting, one permission, one deleted app at a time. The audit you should do tonight. This is the practical portion of this video. The following steps will meaningfully reduce your exposure to the categories of risk we have discussed. The entire process takes approximately 10 minutes. Step 1. Audit your permissions. On iPhone, go to Settings, Privacy and Security, and work through each permission category. Location, microphone, camera, contacts. For each category, you will see which apps have been granted access. For each app listed, ask yourself whether that app's function genuinely requires that access. A video editing app may legitimately need camera access. Does it need microphone access? Does it need location access? Does it need contacts access? For any permission that does not have a clear, obvious functional justification, revoke it. On Android, go to Settings, Privacy, Permission Manager, and work through the same categories. The principle is identical. Pay specific attention to apps in the category we have discussed. If TikTok, CapCut, Shane, Temu, Lemon8, or DeepSeek are on your device, look at every permission they currently have and revoke everything that is not strictly necessary for the core function you use them for. Step 2. Delete apps you have not used in 90 days. Unused apps that retain permissions or data collection without any corresponding benefit to you. If you have not opened an app in 3 months, the realistic probability is that you do not need it. Delete it. The permission is eliminated with the deletion. This step is worth doing regardless of the specific apps in question. App permission hygiene is a general good practice. Reducing the total number of apps with access to your location, microphone, contacts, and camera reduces your overall data exposure across the board. Step 3. Update your operating system. The settings on both iPhone and Android will show you whether your operating system is current. If it is not, update it. Operating system updates include security patches that close vulnerabilities that attackers, including sophisticated state-level actors, actively exploit. Delaying updates means leaving your device exposed to vulnerabilities that have already been identified and for which fixes already exist. There is no good reason to delay operating system updates and significant security costs to doing so. Step 4. Use encrypted communication for sensitive conversations. Signal is an end-to-end encrypted messaging application widely used by security researchers, journalists, and privacy professionals. Messages sent through Signal are encrypted such that only the sender and recipient can read them. The Signal protocol has been audited by independent security researchers and is considered the current standard for private communication. For conversations about anything personally, professionally, or financially sensitive, Signal provides a meaningful improvement in privacy compared to standard SMS or unencrypted messaging applications. Step 5. Use a VPN on public Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi networks in coffee shops, airports, hotels, and other public spaces transmit data in ways that can be intercepted by other users on the same network. A VPN encrypts your internet traffic between your device and the VPN server, preventing this interception. For routine web browsing and communication on public networks, a reputable VPN provides meaningful privacy protection. The conversation worth having the people most exposed to the specific risks we have discussed are often the least likely to have thought critically about them. Teenagers who are among the heaviest users of TikTok and similar applications have typically given no thought to permission settings, to the national intelligence law, or to the difference between a privacy policy and legal protection. They experience these apps as entertainment platforms and have no reason to think about them as data collection, systems operating under foreign legal jurisdiction. Parents using Shein and Temu for their combination of low prices and wide selection may not have considered why apps selling clothes need detailed location access or extensive device permissions. The 10-minute audit this video is recommending is most valuable when it happens more than once. Do it for yourself tonight. Then offer to do it for someone in your family who might benefit from it but would not do it on their own. The FBI issued a warning. Most people missed it. The apps are still installed. The permissions are still active. The collection is still happening. The only protection available to you right now is the one you build yourself, one setting at a time. Start tonight.